He also wants to know what the best chain lube is.
The best chain lube. Did we ever do a chain lube shootout at Dirt Rider back in the day? I know we started working on one, and I think it got to the point where it was like starting to become non-conclusive because there was just no way to put like a controlled, any way to actually get some we'll call it objective information based on it, like as far as like what the chain lube is actually supposed to do, like is it supposed to prolong the life of the chain or prolong the life of the sprocket, or of course it's going to lube it, and because we were just I think we did start doing it. We just came to the point where it was like, this is just going to be like who likes what, like which one. There was definitely some.
Okay, how about this? Because they kind of generalize it. I've got like for muddy conditions or dry conditions. I know that's kind of generalized, but
he
is
asked
that. No, that's me.
Oh.
Would you say it's pretty important to stick to that guidelines? Like say they generally make.
It does make a difference. It makes a difference whether you're running an O-ring chain or a non-O-ring chain. It depends on when you're lubing your chain. Like, are you lubing it at the track after practice, after your moto, or before your trail ride, or are you lubing your chain when you get back from your ride? So there's so much stuff that comes into play. It's a great question. I'm not going to call it a loaded question or anything like that. I kind of prefer when it's dry and like dusty. I like to run something that's more like a penetrant type oil or a rust inhibitor, not a wax or not a lube, not a grease. Does that make sense?
Right.
So something like WD-40 kind of stuff, or like a penetrant oil, like a Toolbox Buddy, or most of the manufacturers make some sort of like penetrating lube. Generally works pretty good when it's dry because it doesn't attract a ton of dust and it kind of protects it from the elements. Then when it's like you're riding in more dirt, like stuff that sticks to it, I tend to prefer a chain wax more than I prefer the kind of the lubes.
The lube.
And my MO is I try to lube the chain when it's warm. Like after
I like your theory on all that.
And
that's out to me.
Especially before you wash the bike. Like if you're going to wash your bike, lube the chain before you wash the bike, because then it prevents the moisture from getting into a certain extent. And if you can lube the chain when it's warm, it tends to allow the lube to kind of sink in and get someplace. Right? And then the other thing about it is a lot of times if you lube it and then park the bike, the lube can kind of dry, and then it's not as sticky. It kind of gets in, moves around, gets to where it needs to go, then dries up, and then it's not as sticky and doesn't attract as much dirt. But the dirt just cleans the damn lube off the chain.
Yeah, how much lube really gets past the O-rings anyway, right? On an O-ring chain, I should say.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you know how to answer that.
So I do, because with another thing we did testing on was some chains and stuff one time, and so one of the things we did was we started popping chains apart at different hours, like at 1 hour, at 10 hours, at 50 hours, and it's 100% dependent on what kind of crap you're riding in, how bad it is. Like if you're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, riding at the Zinc Ranch, your chain is going to last 2 days if it's wet, and you're going to go through a sprocket in that time. I mean, it's just gnarly. Unless you're running DDC, then it'll never wear out.
No.
Your chain will wear out.
It's just that gritty or that whatever.
Yeah, it's polishing compound or rubbing.
Oh, there you go. It's like a valve lapping compound.
But worse. It's gnarly.
Really?
But and out here in the desert, we just run chains and sprockets kind of forever. I was going to say, you can be pretty lazy with a chain out here. Yeah.
But
so you pop it apart at different things. There's a time when the O-rings seem to start to, we'll call it, fail or lose their seal, and then the lube will creep out, and at that point, it's kind of important that you keep putting lube on, just like it is on a non-O-ring chain. If you just let a non-O-ring chain just run dry and always run it dry, it won't last very long.
No, not long at all.
But so the lube does do a lot of work, but you've got to keep it on there. So you've got to add it, and you've got to give it a chance to get in, and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, quite a bit more work with a non-O-ring chain.
yeah, about the power loss with your water pump, just put an O-ring chain on there, and then that way you'll gain back whatever you lose back.
You don't
whatever.
you mean a non-O-ring chain, but yeah.
Well, yeah, take your
Yeah,
O-ring chain
because the
off.
O-ring chain gobbles power, right?
No, it doesn't. I used to
I
race
don't
with
know.
them on 125.
I just know they don't put them on mini bikes and stuff because, and I don't know.
I raced with them.
assumed.
I had the fastest 125, and it was always running an O-ring chain.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Once it's warmed up, I think it's okay. It's not too bad.
I won't argue that at all, but yeah. Okay.
Okay, next
All right,
question.
Flip.